All right, guys, we're back. A little cool in the shop this morning, but we're back out in the shop. We got the piston ring compressor, we got the valve spring compressor. Came in the mail the other day. And we're going to get started on getting some valve springs installed, so let's get to it. Okay guys, so we're going to do this in firing order of the engine because we want the lifters all the way down. We don't want to be fighting the lifters as we're putting stuff together. So I've already done number one. Number one valves are installed. So next we're going to do number 3. Firing order on this engine is 1, 3, 4, 2. So as you can see right here, this is the exhaust lifter, and that's up. That's higher than the intake lifter. So that means this cylinder is on the exhaust stroke. So we're going to roll it over. Oh, we're moving. Okay, exhaust is down. Now intake is coming up. Okay, intake is down. So now we can go ahead and put those valves in. Those could actually be adjusted right there. I never thought. I should have did that. You could adjust those valves at that point. We will do that on this one. We'll have to come back and do number 1 when we come back around. All right, I'm going to get some springs and some retainers, and we'll get set up to do it. Little assembly lube on the valves. Yeah, get crazy with it. Drop them down in the hole. All right. Now what I've been finding is this works a lot better if you don't try and on number 1 I took the whole spring. I took it way down here. It worked on the exhaust valve, didn't work so well on the intake valve. We'll try it again just to see what happens. Yeah, see there, it had a hold of the lifter. We're going to take the lifter too. This compressor is more designed for like a Briggs & Stratton engine. But if we can make it work for the 8 valves we've got to do, we'll make it work. A little bit more. See? This was just a little bit bigger. We're right at the capacity for this thing. Let's see what this does here like this. these valves are pinned in. They don't use your traditional mushroom or your traditional keeper like you're used to seeing. Come on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the lash adjusted before we go on to number 4. I gotta find my engine data tag that has the setting. I forget what it's supposed to be, and the machinist knocked the tag off when he did the machine work. But I got it. It's in my parts over there. So I'm gonna go find that tag, get set up with our feeler gauges and our wrenches to know what our valve lash is supposed to be, and we'll get that set. All right, I had to grind an old wrench to give me enough clearance to get in here, because 2 wrenches just wasn't working. 2 regular wrenches just wasn't working. So the setting is 14 on the intake, 17 on the exhaust. It's too tight. That's not bad right there. Pull it out, wipe it off, we'll check it again. It's pretty decent. Alright. Alright, so that sets those 2 valves. Alright, so now we're going to roll down 1, 3, 4 is next in our firing order. So this is 4 intake right here. Alright, yes, that is 4 intake right here. And we see where our intake valve is open. So I'm going to roll it over and we should watch that close. Okay, it's opening, closing, closing. There, it stopped moving. So both of these valves are now closed. So now I'm going to do the same thing and set those valves up. Alright guys, we're back. I got the front cover on. I had to let the camera charge up for a little bit. So I've got the front cover on. We are just going to put the oil pump on right now. I've got it primed. I've got it primed over here. I use 90 weight when I prime it. So this should, once we get the oil pan on, we should no longer have to have her upside down. So this is the oil pump. I prime right here. This is actually the oil outlet hole, but I just pumped 90 weight in there. Give her a couple turns so I know I got some oil coating them gears, because it's going to be a little bit before we get oil in the pan. So got her primed. Turn her a little bit. I'm going to make a mark because I'm going to have to bump it a little bit. It's, well, I guess it don't matter. It's pretty close to being timed right now. damper on too. There she goes. Just have to move her a slight amount. Okay. So that's that. I'm going to get that. We'll get the pan prepped and we'll get the pan on. I maybe grabbed the wrong bolts. Hang on, I gotta go back in the bin. My bad, guys, I had the bell housing bolts. Doesn't work out too well when you're trying to put bell housing bolts where the oil pan should be. I was wondering what in the Jesus was going on with this oil pan. I don't want that far off. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this pan bolted down. I'm not going to bore you with running pan bolts in. That's a pretty straightforward deal. So I'm going to go ahead and get the pan bolted down. I get the pan bolted down, we'll roll her up and we should be done on the bottom side when we start going up. Alright guys, we're back in the shop. It's a new day, sun's shining, it's cold out. We in here, we got the fire going. We're nice and toasty. We're going to work on some forklift engines. So first step today, we're going to do the flywheel. Why are we going to do the flywheel? Well, actually the next step is the cylinder head. But once the cylinder head is on, we can time it because the drive shaft for the distributor goes right through the cylinder head. So I want to put the flywheel on because that's where the timing marks are at. We time through this little cover right here. I got our flywheel up here on the bench. I cleaned it up this morning. We got a little flash rust because stuff's been sitting for a while. But there's our timing marks. Now I looked in the book. We time right at dead center. So we got to line the pointer up with DC right there. So we're going to get this flywheel on. So what I did is I set the cherry picker up. We're going to remove the bolts, slide the engine stand back, put the flywheel on, slide the engine stand right back in, put the bolts right back in, slide the cherry picker out of the way, and then we'll commence to doing the cylinder head and the rest of our build. So I'm going to get started on that. All right, guys, we're back. Back on the stand. Flywheel's on. And I don't know if you can see in there, it's going to be kind of hard, but our timing mark is lined up. So we are set to time, and we'll go through the timing later. We got to get the head on first. One thing I wanted to do is we've got 3 studs that are longer than everything else. Now, all the threads have been chased. I did that off camera. So everything is cleaned up, ready to go back on. These 2 studs are longer because our oil filter goes on. If you look back at the video where we tore it down, you can see, of course, our cylinder head will be on, but this is going to sit down on there just like that. And I don't remember what goes there, but according to the video, that was a long stud as well. So I'm sure that'll come to us as we're going back together. So I'm going to get the lube out, get the torque lube out. We'll get these studs installed, and then we'll get everything cleaned up. I've been over everything with brake clean, but we'll hit it one more time just before we go back. And then, yeah, we'll get that head down, get that head torque down. Now, I use LB8012. It is made by Loctite. It's a moly paste lubricant for high torque applications. You don't have to use Loctite. Pretty sure Permatex makes a version of it. ARP, if you're an ARP fastener guy, they make a version. You can use that as well. Back in the old days, my dad and my uncle just used a dab of engine oil. I suppose in a pinch you could do that as well. But I like this stuff. This is what we use at work. You just want something in there. You don't want metal to metal contact. When we go back on with the head, we'll put some under the nut and under the washer. Now, 2 of these studs are new. I had to get them from Master Car. They were the only place I could find them. They're 7/16 by 3.5. The long ones are 7/16 by 4.5. One broke off. If you go back to the video where we tore it down, one stud broke off on us, and the other stud was just mangled to the point. I probably could have ran a tap over it and got a nut to thread on it and got it to thread down into the block, but I really didn't want to change it. So I had to order one anyway, so I just ordered 2. Been done with it. The McMaster Car ones are nice because they actually have a hex in the top of them. You can use an Allen wrench to turn them on. The rest of these we're going to have to use our stud installer, but we're not going to use it with a ratchet. We're going to, not a sponsor, but I bought my stud installers from Mac Tool Guy, and those actually have a place where we should be able to slide it right down over the stud. And then it's got a hex on it, we can put an end wrench on it. So that's what we're going to do to get these babies installed and tightened down. And this torque doesn't have to be crazy. We're not going to get on it with a torque wrench. We're just going to snug them up, because the nut is what's doing our clamping. I try not to get too crazy with this stuff either, because we want a nice clean depth surface when we go down. We're going to look real close at the head gasket too. A lot of head gaskets are marked, this side up, this side down, whatever. I ran into one time I was working on a 560 International. Installed the head gasket upside down. The only thing, by doing that, the only thing it did was block off the oil port for oil to get to the rocker arms. So needless to say, bought another head gasket. Did it right the second time. So lesson learned. We'll take a real good look. Make sure if the gasket is marked this side up, this side down, whatever, cool. If it's not, we're going to take a real hard look at which way it has to go, because we don't want to block anything off. Alright, they are all finger tight. I'm going to get set up with the stud installer and we'll get them tightened down. So this is my stud installer. Like I said, it's made by Mac Tool. I'm sure the Lyle makes them for Mac. I don't know if Mac's actually making them. But all it is there's 3 little cams inside there. You can use it with a 1/2-inch ratchet. We're not going to do that because to use a ratchet I would be up here and the cams would be on the thread. So we're going to drop it all the way down, let it hit the deck. And this is just a 7/8 wrench. I could actually probably switch over to a stub wrench. And we ain't got to get crazy with the, like I say, with the torque. We're just smugging them up. This is one of the McMaster car ones. I could use a Allen key if I wanted to. Yep, looks like my drop light just went dead. Him on the charger. These studs all got ran through the blast cabinet and threads chased on both sides. The side that goes in the block is coarse, side sticking up is fine. So we should be good to go. All right, head gasket time. our head gasket was marked top. So I took all the guesswork out of that. I'm just going around. Any place where we got metal to metal, we want a little dab of this lube. Our torque is 70 to 75 foot-pounds. That is the upper end of my 3/8, but we're going to give it a whirl. We'll probably do 50. And then we'll sneak up to the probably 73-ish area. Looks like I lost 2 washers in the heater vanes. I'm just wheeling this cart over because I'm going to set up our manual on it that's got our torque sequence. Beautiful. Alright, so we're going to start at 50. Alright, so there's all of them. And the final torque is 70 to 75. This goes all the way up to 75. We're going to do 72. If it's too much, we'll go to the big torque wrench. There we go. Done deal, guys. 72 foot-pounds, spec is 70 to 75. All right. Now, I think I'm going to, well actually first I'm going to clean the plugs, put the spark plugs back in. So the cylinders are sealed up, we don't have to worry about getting any dirt in there. And then we'll build this side up.